Thank you, General. I think you and your staff are doing a very good job, an exceptional job in difficult circumstances. I'd like to revisit a exchange you had with Senator McCain about the al-Qaeda presence in the tribal regions. You said al-Qaeda is still present on the Pakistan side of the border, but they're, how did you term it, not as effective? What did you say?
Senator, what I was trying to get at was I believe our operations, and of course those are being not being conducted by U.S. forces, Afghanistan, but it seems to me that there are operations being conducted in Pakistan that are disrupting al-Qaeda in Pakistan.
Would you agree that having special forces on the Afghan side of the border has been helpful?
It's been extraordinarily helpful, and we have had a disrupting effect on al-Qaeda as a result of our special forces in Afghanistan.
How many special forces do we have in Afghanistan today?
Senator, I can give you that number. I'd prefer not to give it to you here.
Absolutely. But it's thousands, I would suggest.
That's correct, Senator.
Okay. One of the reasons that we've contained al-Qaeda is that we have other agencies in the fight, but we have a lot of intel capability in that part of the country. Is that correct?
We do, Senator.
Okay. And we have the ability to strike in that part of the country as well. I guess my point is that when you look at a post-2014 force, it would be a very unwise move to take that infrastructure down. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that, Senator.
So I want my colleagues to understand that the infrastructure in place that diminishes al-Qaeda's effectiveness along the tribal regions in the inside of Pakistan is a direct result of infrastructure that we have in Afghanistan, as well as other agencies' capability. When you talk about a winning, what would losing look like?
Senator, I think losing would look like Afghanistan devolving, Afghanistan returning to chaos, Afghanistan being a sanctuary for al-Qaeda, the people of Afghanistan once again being subjected to the oppression of the Taliban in the 1990s, a sanctuary from which security and stability in Pakistan can be threatened. All those would be components of losing.
And the ability of al-Qaeda to regenerate would be greater under a losing scenario. Is that correct?
I don't think there's any question about that, Senator.
And if we were seen as losing in Afghanistan, it'd be hard to convince the Iranians to change their behavior?
I think a credible outcome in Afghanistan certainly will influence those who would do harm.
Okay. Now, when it comes to future hands to be played or cards to be played, the follow-on force, let's say for a moment there were no troops in 2014. We decided to pull out completely like we did in Iraq. What would your evaluation of the outcome be under that scenario?
I think if we did not have a presence post-2014 and we did not provide security assistance to the Afghan National Security Forces post-2014, it'd be a question of time before they would devolve.
So we would eventually lose all we have gained?
I believe that Afghanistan would be a great risk of instability if we would leave before 2014.
Do you think that would be true if we had 2,000 troops left?
Senator, we would not be able to accomplish both of our missions. We have two missions, as you know. One is to deal with the terrorist threat. The other is to deal with security and stability and prevent the Taliban from coming back. It would be difficult to accomplish those missions at a force level of 2,000.
And one of the goals of this bilateral security agreement is to solidify the relationship between the United States and Afghanistan for at least a 10-year period. Is that correct?
That's correct, Senator.
People are evaluating what bets to make as I speak in Afghanistan and the region. And the sooner that we can make this announcement in a bold way, the better off. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that, Senator.
Now, Senator Levin and I have been on the same sheet of music for a very long time about the size of the Afghan army is 352,000. As I understand, it costs us about $6.5 billion a year to maintain that force. Does that sound about right?
It's going to be $4.1 billion for the program of record. Increasing the program of record and sustaining past 352,000 is somewhere between $5 and $6 billion. So that's the aggregate cost of the force. Only a small part of that is what's the cost of the program of record to 352,000 through 2018.
Okay. So what percentage do we pay?
We pay, of the $4.1 billion program of record, our coalition partners pay $1.3 billion. The Afghans have pledged $500 million, and we pay the difference.
The difference between 352 and, say, 230 is how much?
In any given year, it's somewhere between $400 and $600 million a year, Senator.
The difference in capability, would you say, is significant between 352 and 230?
I think both from a capability and a psychology perspective, it would be significant.
Do you believe it'd be a wise investment for the American taxpayer to continue to invest in the Afghan National Security Forces at 352 through?
I do, Senator.
The more they have, the less they need us. Is that correct? The more capable
I absolutely think there's a relationship between our post-2014 presence and the capabilities and capacities of the Afghans.
Now, when it comes to detention, we've just entered into a new agreement with the Afghan government. Could you give us maybe a one-minute overview of that agreement?
Senator, we transferred authority for detention operations to the Afghans in March of 2013. What that means is that now there will be a criminal process that affects detainees. We have an agreement to keep the enduring security threats that are in detention at this particular time and future enduring security threats. And we also are partnered at the facility, the detention facility at Parwan, to ensure that we continue to have humane treatment and that we have visibility of detainees post the transfer.
Is it fair to say that we do not have a disposition plan for the third country nationals we hold at Parwan?
We still have custody and control of third country nationals, Senator, and I do not know what the plan is right now post-2014. It's part of a process that's ongoing.
And some of these are definitely transnational terrorists who've been in the fight for quite a while.
They are, Senator.
Drones. Have drones helped the operations in Afghanistan?
Significantly, Senator. That's one of the ways that we put pressure on al-Qaeda as an example, but they're effective across all of our operations.
Under the law of war, if you see an al-Qaeda operative out in the open walking down the road, we get a good signature on this person. Do we have to wait till they take up arms to fire, or can we shoot when we see them?
If they're designated, we do not have to wait till they take up arms, Senator.
Which makes common sense. Do you agree with that?
I do, Senator.
Okay. Now, as to the future of Afghanistan, you have Pakistan as a potential threat because of the safe havens. You have al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and you have Afghan governance. The government of Afghanistan, in many ways, is one of the enemies we're fighting here. You indicated that the military will get better over time as leadership evolves and people are held more accountable. Do you believe that the corruption we see today in Afghanistan among different ministries and throughout the country can get better over time as these young people we've been mentoring take over in the future?
Senator, I believe it can get better, but the operative part of your phrase is over time.
And we're talking about a 10 or 15-year window in that regard.
We're talking a significant period of time. I think we're talking about this population now that is 25 years or less assuming positions of increased responsibility in the future.
Do you believe it's a good investment on our part to stay partnered with these young people?
I think it's a critical investment, Senator.
Thank you.